Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Flow podcast. I'm your guest host today, Jon Westling, and today we're joined by a very special guest, Mr. Aaron Lee. You may know Aaron from his work on TV shows such as Family Guy and The Cleveland Show, and he's also one of the writers on Ted Season 2, available now on Peacock. He wrote the very first episode of the season entitled Talk Dirty to Me. We're thrilled to have him with us. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm a little concerned though. What did you do with Zach? What happened to him? What did you do with him?
Evil
Has this
things are
been your
afoot behind
plan
me.
all along to take over the podcast?
It has been, it has been. I've been a fan of the Cinema Flow podcast for so long, and I've just been waiting for my moment to strike.
This is monstrous. I can't believe I signed on for this. This is horrible.
God, I know you're right, but we're very, very happy to have you here with us. We're very, very excited to get to ask you. It's rare that we have someone with such a storied career, especially
Oh,
in TV.
amazing. Incredible storied career.
Yes.
So, some of I have a resume. If you go on IMDb right now, everybody, you'll see my name on some of the worst shows. There are shows on there that are so bad that aren't even on there, like Blind Date. Do you remember a dating show called Blind Date?
I
Did
remember
you ever see
Blind
that?
Date. Yeah, of
That was
course.
one of my first jobs in TV. Was remember like the daters would go on a date, and then the guy would be a jerk, and an animated brick would fly in and hit him in the head, or little comments. That was my job, was to say, why doesn't a brick hit him in the head right now? So
That's
so yeah,
amazing. That's
a
amazing.
a storied and terrible career.
Well, some might say storied and legendary because my God, what a legacy that even that show left. I've seen so
Oh
many people talk about it even to this day.
yes, yeah, what a legacy. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. We'll jump right in here. We'll jump right in. So my first question, I want to ask, how did you get into comedy writing? I understand you moved to Hollywood in the '90s to work for Hustlers. So like, what was that like,
Yeah.
and how did that lead to comedy from there?
Well, I was in Lexington, Kentucky. I was 20 years old, and I was doing a and I'm so old. I'm extremely old, John. I'm so old that this was pre-social media. So if you wanted to like get attention for your writing, you had to make like a little Xeroxed magazine. Like I
Mm.
had to fold and staple it, and that got me a little bit of attention, and that introduced me to a guy named Mike McPadden, who was an amazing writer who wrote books that I would recommend to your listenership. He wrote a great one called Teen Movie Hell that's about the history of movies like Porky's and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He was a really brilliant guy. He got the job with Larry Flint, and he told Larry, "I know a guy from Kentucky." And Larry was like, heard nothing else. Was just like, hire him, put him on a plane. Because Larry's from Kentucky. He grew up in like poverty in the Appalachian Mountains. So the second he heard it's Kentucky, he was just like, give him a job. So I came out, and I pretty quickly, because of my funny writing, I got the title humor editor. So I would, it was a very surreal. It was sitting in an office, so you would think it was like I was in a mansion with naked ladies everywhere, but it wasn't. It was an office job. It's a weird job. It was a weird job. I won't say their names because I don't know if they want it shared, but there's a weird secret history of TV people that came out of Larry Flint Publications. Because when you move to New York, when you move to LA and you're a writer, there New York has a big literary background. LA does not. That was one of the only places you could get a writing job if you were 20 and had no credits. You know what I mean? So it was, in a funny way, it was good training for Family Guy and shows like that, because I would pitch these incredibly offensive, raunchy jokes, and Larry sat behind his big desk with his bodyguard behind him who had like a visible gun, and to like have to like present humor to a scary man like Larry Flint with an armed man behind him. I do think it was good training for Hollywood, because like I don't get intimidated in meetings with producers. I'm like, it's like, oh, you're gonna go in and meet Ryan Murphy. I gotta warn you, he's kind of scary. I'm like, I don't think he'll be as terrifying as the Kentucky pornographer with the armed man behind him. I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be all right. So in terms of what it was like, it was really weird. I did it. I got into therapy to get get over it, and I got on with working in television.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. That's very interesting that it was just that Kentucky connection that led to the job happening in the first
That
place.
was it. That was
Yeah.
it. I mean, yeah, the real connection was with Mike, and and I don't know. I really feel like for any young writer, like he and I sent him. We traded our little fanzines. We got on the phone the first time, and it was just like immediately like, you love Mad Magazine? I grew up on Mad Magazine. You love The Simpsons? I love The Simpsons. Like it was that thing where you make that super deep connection, and I think that's so important when you're starting out to find your tribe. Find the people who share those same passions as you do. And that was really it. That was the real connection.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think it can feel so isolating, especially in the very early days. And I think finding that tribe of people to connect with and create with is vital, vital.
And to say a very old man thing, I apologize for this, but and in person, like, because
Hmm.
online when it's just like your letterbox profile or whatever, it just becomes like ether. Like it's like, but to find that person who you really connect with that way in person, it's like that to me, that's where the work is going to come from. That's where you and those other people are going to go like, we have to make shit. We just got to start making shit, and you're going to get excited. Yeah,
I
yeah, I
totally
think that's
agree.
vital.
I think the in-person thing is a big part of it too. I'm actually lucky enough to live with my writing partner, which makes the,
It's
bouncing
amazing.
back and forth. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's like
Oh
Lennon
boy.
McCartney.
Well, I was just gonna say it's amazing. And talk about needing therapy. Wait
Yeah.
until you guys wait until you guys get successful. Oh God.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the bills are going to be outrageous.
Oh yes.
A lot of young writers and students listen to this show. So I was wondering if you might be able to tell us about your journey and how you got started as a writer post Hustler. I'm sure there's a lot
Mm.
of that we can learn, and a lot that our listeners can learn from that transition.
Okay. So while I was there, I really, it's funny. I really wanted to get into entertainment, and and I would sit in my office and work on my screenplay, and if my boss came in, he knew that screenplay format, what that looked like on the screen. So if my boss came in, I had to lunge for the screen and put like porn on, and he would go like, "What are you doing?" I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm looking at that's what I've been doing all day." He's like, "You're not working on a screenplay." No, 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 just porn, just all day, man. That's all I do. And so always like that's what I want to do. So I went and tried stand up. Uh, I had a terrible experience. I did it two times. I got thrown out of the comedy store because I had brought. I had a funny idea for a bit where I would bring an unhoused gentleman up on stage with me who I had paid to be there. We got thrown out, and so I was scared to do stand up. So instead, I was like, okay, I'll go try improv. And it's really, this was huge. This was a big thing. Like I loved improv. And I mean, for comedy writing, it couldn't be better training. I did
Right.
that for a couple of years. I went back to stand up. Then I loved stand up. And then I got obsessed with stand up, and I did it every night of the week. And I met a manager. I got a writing partner, a brilliant guy named Joe Wagner. And Joe and I came to the attention of a manager, a guy named Dave Rath, who was at Three Arts at the time. And Dave was like, quit this horrifying soul sucking job. And he said to me, he said, quit your day job, be broke for 6 months. We're going to give it 6 months. You're going to be broke. It's going to be hard. He was like, just quit your day job. Do nothing but write comedy for 6 months. Do nothing but write sketches, whatever screenplay you're working on, your sitcom spec, just 6 months of that. And this was at a time when it was kind of dot com. It was a little after dot com boom, but like YouTube was just coming out. And so he was like, we're going to get you an internet job, and then from there, you're going to produce funny little sketches. Then we're going to get you TV jobs off of that. And that's exactly, and he was 100% correct. And I have to 100% give it to him. Like, he laid that out for me entirely, and that's how it worked. And so from doing funny little sketches produced online, getting hired on award shows like the MTV Movie Awards, and suddenly I'm hired to write the funny little sketches, but it's with all these other amazing people who are starting up. The Lonely Island guys, Will Forte from SNL, and the sketches have Robert Downey Jr. in them and Ben Stiller. You know, it was really crazy and head spinning. But that really was how it went. Was just like, and you know, and it was just, and the lesson for me in terms of young writers, it really was that, what's the thing, 10,000 hours, that Malcolm Gladwell guy, like let me put it this way. It really, to me, and I don't think this is everyone's path, it really was quantity over quality. It was just crank stuff out, just get the experience of, just put the hours in, just crank stuff out. So it was around the clock. It was like doing that stuff, doing stand up at night, and it's just kind of throwing everything at the wall, you know?
I know exactly what you mean. That's super cool. I didn't realize you had started off doing like internet stuff. I really miss that the early days of YouTube and even before YouTube, where sketch comedy had a real presence on the internet.
Hmm.
I remember it was when I was younger, but you know that was a real hallmarker of the early days of the internet for me is sketch comedy and internet sketch comedy in particular.
Yeah, all that like Channel 101 stuff,
Hmm.
like I don't know. I don't think this is that impressive to say, but because I think 1,000 other people did too, but like I saw that stuff, and I I saw Andy Samberg, and I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be a star. This guy's gonna be super famous.
Right.
And it was exciting. It would, like, you would meet these people, and you would go like, oh my God, hey, this person's, I can tell they're gonna be a movie star. You know? It was a very exciting time. Very
Oh,
exciting time.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Is there a core memory that you associate with the year that you were working on the MTV Movie Awards and sort of this early part of your career?
Yes, yes. The core memory. Oh God, this is so. I don't even know if this is okay to say. The core memory is me having my feelings so hurt by Jimmy Fallon, who was hosting, just falling in love with Andy Samberg and the
Mhm.
Lonely Island, but and not being that crazy about me, and not, and like basically icing me out and getting a separate trailer that they were all kind of in and I wasn't in. and
No.
and Andy and those guys would stop by once in a while and be like, hey man, kind of weird, huh? Yeah, he says he's taking me to SNL next week. And I was just sitting there going, oh God,
That's
my
heartbreaking.
my career's over. Like that. That's the core. That's the core bad memory. But that's the one. That's the one that comes first to mind. I hate to admit, but then, I mean, like, but honestly, beyond that, that setup was just super fun because that producer Joel Gallen, he's the guy who went on to do the Comedy Central roast, and he, brought me with him. And the way he ran it, it was just super fun. Like, you just kind of went and did whatever you wanted all day. You didn't have to go and say, I'm thinking about a sketch, where you just went and wrote stuff and you did that all day. And if you wanted to pair up with somebody else, you did. Whatever. Everybody just ran up. And at the end of the day, we all got together and we performed our sketches. And he sat there and he would give a grade. It would be check, check plus, check minus, or X. And it was just like, and it was just super fun. And like I said, like, I met incredible people there. Like, Joel had a great, he had a great eye for writers, and he had a great open door. And everybody knew, like, if I'm broke and I desperately need a job, you can call Joel and he'll go, I'm producing a special called The Pepsi Smash starring Britney Spears. You can come in and write lines for Britney. Like he was just incredibly generous and great that way. So that's what comes to mind about the movie awards.
That's great. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. What was your favorite roast to work on? What was your favorite roast to work on? And is there a particular reason why that one
Oh my
was a
God.
favorite?
Well, those shows were really fun. Like, they were really hard. They were all really hard. And the first week you'd come in and you'd have a good time. It took a month of prep. The first week it was like you had a good time and it was fun and you kind of got out all your jokes you thought about this person. The second week was always like kind of hard. So you're like, oh, I don't think I can come up with any more Pam Anderson has big boobs jokes. Like the well is kind of dry. The third week you're miserable and you're like, this is horrifying, and people get tense and there are fights and you're there late. And then the week of the show, it was just crazy. You'd be in this amazing like fighting comedy shape, and all the jokes would just fly, and you'd write like 90% of the show in that last week. So they all kind of fell in that pattern, and they were all a blast. I mean, I think for personal reasons, I think the William Shatner roast was my favorite because I was a Star Trek nerd growing up, and I loved Shatner, and it was a great show. It was a great show. It was fun and exciting. God, I hate to say this, but so that's probably the favorite. The second favorite, without getting too political for your audience, but like for very good and very bad reasons, would be the roast of Donald Trump, because I personally, I don't feel great about what came after that roast.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan of what came after, but no one was ever easier to write jokes about. I like no one was ever easier, even back then, before, it was so easy, it was so fun. It was in New York City.
Mm.
The roasts in LA could be very uptight because no one wanted to be seen on camera like frowning or not, so they could be very uptight. Being in New York City, I think that was the first one I did with Seth MacFarlane because he hosted,
Mm.
and we had a blast and we really connected on that. And we were in New York City, and the crowd was just insane because it was New York and they didn't care. And the Situation from the Jersey Shore came out, and he got booed off the stage. He
That
bombed
is
so hard he got
legendary. That is
no,
so legendary.
that never would have happened in LA, because in LA you can't be seen booing someone who's on a TV show. And in New York it was out of control. And I remember Seth had to like get the crowd under control like between commercials. So he started yelling at them as Peter Griffin, like, shut the fuck up, you motherfucker, which was hilarious. And it was a blast. It was a blast. So in terms of quality, and I would have to say Shatner, and in terms of like having a good time, it was the Trump roast.
God, that's
But they were
both
all
great
fun.
answers.
They were all fun. They really were. Those were super fun shows.
Yeah, it seems like it would be like a crazy environment, honestly. I don't know if it's necessarily my skill set either. That's really cool though. That's really cool. Do you think roasts could make a comeback? Because I remember like, when I was growing up, it seemed like they were doing one pretty frequently, and they made a lot of noise. Like culturally, it seemed like everyone was talking about them. Do you think there's a world where roasts could make a comeback and
Yeah,
be how they were?
100%. I mean, that Tom Brady roast was huge. That was like one of the most
Hmm.
watched things that year. It was huge. It's it might be a little tougher because you even saw it with Tom Brady. The person, for it to be a person who's a big enough name, they also kind of have to not entirely necessarily know what they're getting into, and I think that's harder now. Like
Yeah.
when we were doing those Comedy Central roasts, people, it's like they didn't know what it was, and they saw the old Dean Martin roast, and and then as it went on, it actually got harder and harder, and I remember all sorts of different people that got booked, like Samuel L. Jackson, Kanye West, Willie Nelson was that, who like basically like a couple weeks before the show would call like, oh hey, I just watched the last roast, I'm not doing this. Like they would back out because they realized what it was. So that's the thing I think is tricky. But the audience, to me, that clearly the audience is there for it. It's clearly there for it. So
I
yeah, I
definitely
think it
agree.
totally could. It's hard. It's hard. I've always thought it's hard when the president is a roast comic. It's
Mm.
hard to have a guy in the office who's being roasty and attacking everyone. It's hard to, for your entertainment at the end of the day, enjoy, like, it's fun when people go at each other. that makes it a little tougher, but yes, I think it will come back around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The Trump of it all is it's interesting what this dude has done to culture in general.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I'm really glad I could help normalize him and make it seem
Yeah,
like he had a fun sense of humor about himself with the Comedy
yeah.
Central roast.
Maybe you connected some dots in his head. He's like, wait a second, I can weaponize this.
He was talking about it then. He was talking about running for president then because
Really?
there was a joke Seth did that always for years people would go into Seth's Twitter,
Hmm.
comments and post it. There was a joke where Seth said, "Hey Donald, I just wanted to tell you it's pronounced huge, not huge." And also it's pronounced I am fucking delusional, not I am running for president. So even then he was going on the talk shows saying I'm going to run for president. You know?
Right, those were early
Yes.
days.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was like 2000, was that like 2008? I think it was like I think it was like that early. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot of years of this guy. When you say what he's done to the culture, it's because he's been sucking up all the air like for a long time. So yes, it's had a profound impact, obviously.
Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting days
And I
this
got to
summer.
meet him on the roast. I got to meet
Right,
him. I had,
right.
because my job on the roast often was to go to the non-comics. Joel would be like, go sell them on this joke, go talk to them
Mhm.
about the delivery of this joke. So I always had to go to their trailer and talk to them. So I had to go to Donald Trump and be like, oh, hey, Mr. Trump, nice to meet you. Do you think you could say this more like this? And he was the one guy who was like, no, why would I say it that way? No, what else? Well, we were thinking maybe you could do this joke. You could. No, I don't like that. No, what else? I don't know. And also, could you do this? No, absolutely not. Okay, nice to meet you. That was my whole meeting with Donald Trump.
Oh,
Fun guy. Fun guy.
you're telling me Donald Trump's not the nicest guy in the world. I'm stunned. I'm stunned
He,
over here.
I mean, I'm making it sound honestly, I'm making it sound more, but he was just abrupt. Let's just put it
Right,
that way. He was just like, yeah.
right.
He
Sounds
had a
very New
lot going
York.
on. He's a busy guy. Yes,
Right,
exactly. Yes, busy guy.
right. Very interesting. Well, so did you meet Seth at that roast, or had you guys known each other previously?
Um, so Seth I met because okay, and here's some more for your young writers who are wondering how it goes. Like
Hmm.
one of my probably my best friend in LA is the actor Rainn Wilson, famous as Dwight on The Office, and Rainn and I met and we did a show together because I was still doing award shows now and then. It
Hmm.
was the Independent Spirit Awards. He was hosting. We had an incredible time. We had a great time. And Rainn was like, "You should get a job on The Office." He said, "Go write an Office." This was maybe this is like season 3 of The Office or something, season 3 or 4.
Hmm.
Go write an Office spec script. And and I did, and it came out great. And I got the meeting on The Office, and I met Greg Daniels, the producer and creator, and we talked for an hour and a half, and he was like, "Have you acted before?" And I was like, "Yeah, I used to like be in commercials and stuff for money." And he was like, "Oh, I could tell because." And a lot of the writers end up on the show, so I'm just saying. And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be writing for The Office and on The Office." I was freaking out, and it was shook hands, left the meeting, and like I don't know, a couple hours later, my agents called me. They're like, "Yeah, they just called. They're not hiring you." So I was like, I was devastated. I was like, "What happened?" I went from thinking I'm going to be on The Office to like, "Nah, they don't want to hire you."
Greg, we
So
shook hands. We shook hands.
yes, yes. But Greg gave my script to his good friend and former King of the Hill cohort, Rich Appel.
Hmm.
Rich was about to start running the Cleveland show.
Okay.
Rich loved the script. I got called in for my meeting. It was Rich and Mike Henry, the voice of Cleveland,
Hmm.
and Seth.
Hmm.
And Seth said to me right off the bat, he was like, "Look, I'm so busy with Family Guy." I think he was maybe he was about to go do Ted. I can't
Hmm.
remember, but he literally said to me at the top of the meeting, like, "We'll probably never talk again, but I did want to get to meet you," because he's like, because I'm not going to be involved in Cleveland show, and I'm
Right.
so busy. So this will probably be the one time we get talking. I was like, "Oh, okay." And he said, but I really wanted to meet you because I'm obsessed with the Shatner roast because Seth is the world's biggest Star Trek fan. So he's
Right.
like, so I just want to hear all your Shatner stories. So this is my job interview, by the way. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, the first time Shatner, and he goes, wait, stop. And he runs to his computer and he puts on the Star Trek theme. And he's like, okay, go. So, so for about 30 minutes, I just tell Shatner anecdotes. We just fuck around about it. And at the end, he goes, well, Aaron, you seem like a neat guy. And I was like, oh, thanks, Seth. Nice to meet you. I leave. And I'm like, I don't know what just happened. We didn't talk about the job at all. You know what I mean? Like, and I called my agents and they were like, what did he say? What happened? I was like, I don't know. It's weird. We didn't talk about the show. And at the end, he said, you seem like a neat guy. And my agent was like, oh, he can be pretty sarcastic. I'm sorry, buddy. Sounds like you look, but we'll get you another job. It's okay. So I was like, oh, I bombed out. And then an hour after that, they called and they were like, oh, you're hired. They want you to start Monday. So that was how I got in Seth Land. And I gotta say, I don't know. I hope it's a good lesson for your listeners who are getting into this stuff. Like I knew The Office upside down. I knew every detail about it, and I was best friends with Rain. Like that job, I was like, this is a sure thing. That didn't happen, and I was devastated. Now, and again, like I was saying about the Jimmy Fallon, like, oh, it's all over. Family Guy, I'd seen some episodes of here and there. I didn't really know it. I liked it, but I wasn't like, I'm the world's biggest Family Guy fan. I was like, okay, I'll go in and talk to these guys. That ended up being my career for the next, what are we going on here? Like 15 years, like something like that, like working with Seth and, so it's like, we don't know how these things are going to work out. You got to roll with it.
Absolutely. I almost think there's something to not being hired on the show you're a super fan for. Like, I think it almost makes more sense to get people that are like, I'm interested in telling like a funny story. Like, I would imagine a lot of it's more decisions like that. Or am I wrong?
Well, no, not at all. And I'll tell you, what it comes back to as I'm sitting here thinking about is what we were talking about at the beginning.
Mm.
The people you really bond with. I mean, Seth and I had a lot of cultural interests and obsessions in common and a sense of humor in common. We met, he instantly wanted to go, let's talk and bond about this thing we both love. That's what we did. And that was the working relationship going forward. You can't overestimate how important that connection is and that real passion for like why we got into this and what we love about it. That's the thing I think to really follow and to value above, because I really have been in situations where it's like, oh, there's this thing where I would get more money, but there's this other thing that I would be really excited about. It's always better to go do the thing you're really excited about. No question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. Now you
And
were
that sounds like just a platitude, but it's really true. I have to tell you, it's really true. It's not just a nice thing to say that makes you sound like a good person. It really
no,
is
no,
true.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the people are everything. The people is
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
in any line of work, but especially something like this where it's so much building with each other and so much, yeah, collaboration on every level. Collaboration on every
yep,
level. I completely agree. I completely agree. So you were a writer and a producer on the Cleveland show, is that right?
yes, yes.
Okay, awesome. So what was the stipulation between the two? Like, and what was your day to day typically? Like, were you usually you were a producer, right?
I mean, well, especially in animation. Oh boy,
Mm,
that's interesting. The delineation between writer and producer is pretty blurry, and in animation, it's very blurry. I came in. I can't remember what my title was coming in.
mm,
Anyways, I got hired as a writer. My title changed by the end. I guess I was. I think I was co-EP on Cleveland show. I don't know. I think I was co-executive producer by the end.
mm.
Maybe I wasn't. I definitely was on Family Guy. But regardless, you come in as a writer, more responsibilities may come to you. So
Mm.
you start doing things like sitting in on the lock of an animatic and sitting with the editor and going, oh, let's take some time out of that. Let's find another take for that. Now you're producing technically, but
Right.
it's your episode that you wrote. So it's all very blurry. And in live action sitcoms, that the same thing. which then extends to you're a writer, but you're going to be on the set for your episode, and a problem comes up with this thing with the set, so we can't use that set now, and now you're so it's all one big mess of a job. And
Hmm.
and in terms of day to day on Cleveland show, I mean, it was like every other animated show. It was go in,
Hmm.
start with nothing, pitch stories, pitch ideas, go off, write your script, come in, punch it up, and then in animation, if you're lucky enough to get a second season and a third season, it's so staggered because it takes a year to do an episode
Right.
that now you're doing all the kind of stuff I was just talking about. Now you're looking at animatics. Now you're looking
Hmm.
at a color. Now you're punching that up. Now you're signing off on character designs. Like, so it's a big mishmash of responsibility. And like I said, especially in animation, you are probably working on 3 or 4 episodes at a time in all these different stages of production. This one is in full color, almost ready to go out the door. This one's a pencil sketch animatic. This one is a draft of the script that just came in. So you're just kind of flowing through all this stuff all day long.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me ask, is there a specific, and this is a pretty particular question, is there a specific challenge you remember overcoming on Cleveland show that might help our viewers?
Well, the star was white. That was kind of a challenge.
Right.
Uh, which, by the way, no one was thinking about at the time.
Of
It's
course. Yeah.
Cleveland. It's Cleveland. Oh my God, Cleveland show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
Um,
course.
a particular challenge on the Cleveland show. I gotta say that show was pretty fun and pretty easy. I mean, like, I Mike Henry, who voiced Cleveland,
Mhm.
he made me laugh really hard. And okay, here's a challenge I faced.
Mhm.
100% real. There was more than one time, and they're so stupid if I tell you the examples. Anyone that has any small respect for me will lose it after hearing how hard I laughed at this stuff. But I remember, okay, here's a typical example. I remember an episode in particular where Cleveland kept having diarrhea,
Mhm.
and the janitor at the bar they went to, the Broken Stool, was like, his life was miserable because of Cleveland's diarrhea. And then Cleveland went to this like billionaire's home. I can't remember what had caused it all, but the janitor that was at the Broken Stool formerly there was now working at the billionaire's house. And he was like, "Oh, Cleveland, I'm so happy to be out of that place. Like, I don't have to clean up a bathroom covered in diarrhea anymore." And Cleveland said, like, better, think twice, Manuel. Or sorry, it was like, better. Yeah, the suggestion being Cleveland had already visited the bathroom in this billionaire's
Right,
house.
right.
It's incredibly stupid, but Mike pitched this, and I was dying laughing. And we all laugh. Oh, haha, that's stupid. It's funny. But I keep laughing. And then everybody's silent. We've got to think about the next joke. But now I've realized, oh, I can't stop laughing. And it's
You
that
got the
thing where
giggles.
because everyone's silent, if I'm like, I'm the guy who just can't stop laughing, that makes it look like I'm kissing the showrunner's ass. Like,
Sure.
because Mike Henry, I'm just trying to, like, oh, Aaron's like, oh, and it's not funny. It's not that funny. It's really not. But I can't stop. So I had to quietly excuse myself, like slip out a door to go into the kitchen and like cry laughing until
Oh.
I could get under control and come back to be like, okay, what's this we're working on? Like that was a challenge. That was a challenge. Like, don't laugh too hard at this guy's stuff to make it look like you're sucking up to him, which he won't respect, you know?
God,
Ridiculous.
that is
Yeah.
so funny. That hey, sometimes you get the giggles. Sometimes you get the
Yes.
giggles.
I have to say that is a great that is it's like a cliche that we make fun of in writers' rooms, but it is true. Like, that is a great pleasure of being a comedy writer. Is like, seriously, I would say most days. There definitely have been days where I haven't laughed at all and I was
Mhm.
in a bad mood. They are way in the minority.
Mhm.
Way in the minority. I mean, like, even getting to like 98% of days, I get to laugh at something. And often, like, really hard. You know what I mean? So
That's awesome.
that's a great thing. That's a great thing.
That's so great, man. I feel like you're adding years to your life, like the opposite of cortisol, you know?
Well, yeah. It's so funny you should say that after I just did Scrubs for ABC,
Mm.
which was shooting in Vancouver, flying back and forth to the set in Vancouver, extremely stressful. Show came out great, and it's a big hit and a big success. And I went to the doctor for my yearly physical, and she was like, "Hey, your blood pressure's bad again. What's going on? Have you been under stress?" Because and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I've been under a lot of stress." So it all gets balanced out. It all gets balanced out.
Right, right. Well, let's pivot to that for a second. Are you excited to see, because you're talking about the reboot for Scrubs, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
great. Are you excited to see how successful it's been? Like it's breaking records, I'm pretty sure on Hulu, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, my episode, when I say my episode, I mean
Mhm.
the episode they stuck my name on because
Right.
however much your listeners know this is how it works. You sit in a writer's room with 15 people, everybody contributes. Sometimes you get to go off and do the first draft.
Right.
Sometimes it's even just the room wrote it, but they stick one writer's name on it.
Mm.
So my episode, quote unquote, is on tonight, and I'm thrilled to see it. And
Amazing.
yeah, and it's been yeah, people love it. And oh man, I mean, you talk about like, oh, the show's passionate. The showrunner of Scrubs is Asim Batra. I met Asim on the Cleveland show 18
Wow.
years ago. I want to say like 18 years ago. Asim and became one of my other very closest friends out here in LA, and they were kind of mid-season, and she said, "Hey, could you jump in and help out?" I said, "Absolutely." I had seen 10 minutes of Scrubs maybe my
Mm.
entire life. The weekend before I started, I was like, I really got to watch some Scrubs. I think I got to watch like 3 episodes,
Mhm.
and I was there on day one like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's an amazing thing by day two, and I've had this on so many shows, by
Mm.
day two, about halfway through the day, I know everything about the show top to bottom. Just from a day of sitting, pitching, wrapping your head around it, having read a couple scripts, I can tell you all about JD, Turk, Carla, Dr. Cox, all the characters at Sacred
How
Heart,
Todd
their
fits into
favorite
all
hangout,
this.
Todd, the janitor. Yes, exactly. Like and also you're there long hours, so I do think there's a Stockholm syndrome thing of like, I
Right.
am now just a brainwashed Scrubs writer. But
Right.
but the thing that was fun when you ask, like, is it exciting to see this? In a way, it's more exciting to me because I honestly didn't know people were so obsessed with Scrubs. I didn't
Yeah.
know it was this passionately beloved show because because during that time I was hanging out with all the Office people. So that
Right.
was the NBC show. I knew that whole world. And
Hmm.
meanwhile, Scrubs came before The Office, and there are all these people who really discovered. I didn't realize, especially people way younger than me, who really discovered this whole school of comedy through like seeing Scrubs when they were 10 years old and going,
Hmm.
that's hilarious. So yeah, it's been very fun to see the big reaction to it.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't necessarily expecting it either. I actually was a huge Scrubs fan when it, exactly like you said, when I was like, I
Yeah,
think like 13, because it was one of those shows that was like on early Netflix for like 15 years or something, like back
right.
when those contracts were super long. So it's like, it's been cool to see, honestly, because like, it was something I really cared about back in the day. So I was like, wow, it like still resonates with people. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it's a fun and like having worked on it now and seeing it, I go like,
Mhm.
oh right, it's the same thing as Family Guy. You can do like cutaways and you can get like it's fun to pitch on and I have to say on the set, like going back when I would be the writer on the set, which I shared with a number of other people, but like Zach Braff was very much like he was just like basically it was just the old thing of like, hey, we just want to laugh, and whatever gets the laugh, that's what goes in the show. And so it was a good time too in terms of like just trying to come up with the thing that we all laugh at, and then let's shoot that, and then run off and shoot that. So yeah, it's a fun show.
That's awesome, man. That's
I should have
awesome.
watched it. I should have watched it. If only I'd known.
So you've been lucky enough to work on a few TV shows. Let me ask, what's been your favorite? What's been your favorite? And was there a reason, like, was there something you were a fan of before? Was there something you just had a particularly fun time, like hit a good groove on?
I don't know. I mean, they've done a lot of fun shows. I mean,
Mm.
like, especially Seth World, those
Right.
shows are just super fun. Like, there's another writer, Julius Sharp, who sometimes goes by Goldie,
Hmm.
who this last season of live action Ted, the one that's come out, not that you guys emailed me about,
Right.
he and I talked about it, like that may have been the most fun season of TV writing ever. Like I remember him saying to me, like basically like when it because we wrote those 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and because it takes a year to do all the Ted animation, then it took another year before they dropped it,
Right.
and I remember him saying to me at the time, like, this is the best it will ever get. He was like, the whole industry is downhill after this. All entertainment's going away. There's not going to be that many more shows. And this is the best one we've ever had, and it's all downhill from here. I remember him saying that. So it may have been the best time we ever had in a show. And on live action, Ted, Seth is in the room the whole time. He
Oh,
sits at the
wow.
computer, he does the typing, he's got the document open,
Mm.
and he's great about like, and if it makes him and everybody else laugh, it goes in. And
Mm.
if it doesn't, he just kind of smiles, maybe chuckles, nods, doesn't type it. And so it's never like that joke sucks. What's wrong with you? It's just a very like just a very fun room, and it was a really good time. But I mean, but I don't know. They've all been they haven't all been fun. That's a total lie. I was about to say they haven't all been fun. There's been a lot of fun ones. There's been super not fun ones where you're like, oh my god, I got to get out of here, and we're here till 2 a.m. every night, and nobody's happy. Like I've been on those. That sucks. But like for the most part, they've all been really fun. It's hard to pick a favorite. But I guess, like I said, I guess I'd say that Ted season two, that was the best time.
That's great. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Let's we don't have to name any shows, but let me ask, what are some of the reasons that some of those less fun rooms haven't been as fun? Like is it just like sort of the
Well,
chemistry is off or yeah, what are some of
that
the reasons?
chemistry off is a big one.
Hmm.
One thing I've been on more than one show. I've been on more than one show where the problem is they do a pilot, the
Hmm.
pilot goes well, they don't actually have a show.
Hmm.
They have a pilot, they got through a pilot, they have a concept that does not actually sustain a show. It
Right.
might have like a big star or two that the network was really into and really wanted to get this on the air.
Hmm.
And then pretty quickly, like no joke, by about the end of week two, you're sitting there going like, there's no show here.
Oh,
And that starts to sink in, and then everybody kind of gets the shakes, and then by two episodes you realize we have pitched every good story there is. So now we need to either overhaul this completely or just bash our heads against the wall for a season. And it's generally the latter because it's hard to go like, we're bringing in a leprechaun. Like a leprechaun is one of the cast members now. Like nobody
right.
wants to do that. We can't do that. We mustn't give up. And now everybody's fighting. And then episode 10, everybody's called in the morning like, guys, bad news. The show got canceled. And then you're like, well, we all got free lunch and a decent paycheck, and you go home. But that's
Right.
I think that's the number one reason when they're bad. I mean, and then like you said, there's other things like bad chemistry, and then there's other
Right.
things like, oh no, this person's crazy. Like, turns out the showrunner is they're insane. Like
Right.
that happens too, and you go, oh boy, better buckle up for this.
Yeah.
Like there that can make a show bad too.
Oh, bless, man, bless. That sounds demoralizing. That sounds like it could be like tough. That sounds like it could be tough.
I remember, okay, very early on in my career, one of the first things I ever did, and it was with Joel Gallen. It was a Comedy Central show. It was like, and it wasn't an award show, but it was kind of like that. And it was one of the first things where it's like, when you say, oh, I did these little online kind of things, I'm going to go and do that for TV now. And I
Right.
went in, and the whole room was SNL writers, like
Mm.
very experienced, amazing SNL writers, and me, who had done nothing and had a terrible job writing dirty letters for Larry Flint at Hustler. Not impressive credits. And I went in, and at the end of the day, like I said, we would all go around a circle and pitch our sketches.
Mhm.
And the SNL guys would pitch their hilarious sketches, and they would all laugh. And this guy would pitch his and laugh. And then they'd get to me, and I'd pitch my sketch, and it'd be silence, like dead silence. And then the next guy from SNL would pitch sketch, and everyone would laugh. And I would go, oh, that hurt. That was rough. And then I went in the next day, and the same thing happened. And then I went through my whole first week, and that happened all week. And I was like, whoa, this sucks. And then on the weekend, I had a revelation. I had a revelation that has saved me my whole career. I was like, I haven't been fired. Like, it's Sunday night. I'm supposed to go to work tomorrow, and they haven't fired me. So I guess it's okay. I guess sometimes you go in and no one likes you and they don't laugh. And I guess, and until I'm told, please pack up your things, I'm going to go in and keep pitching what I think is funny that no one likes. And I swear to God, the next day I got my first little laugh. And I was like, oh, that was good. And then the next day it was a little better. And that show was produced by Joel Gallen. And that is a crazy thing where by the end of that show, just through weird circumstances, I ended up being like the head writer the last week of the show.
Wow.
And it was great, and we had a great time with us, and I ended up working with Joel for all this stuff. So the lesson was like, yeah, sometimes you're in this situation, everybody's having a blast. Sometimes you're in this situation and it's terrible and everybody's mad. Nobody You do the same thing in both cases. You say like, here's what I think is funny, and maybe people laugh and maybe you get fired. But you do the same thing no matter what. I think this would be funny. How about this? And being in a writer's room, I would also say to your young writers, like, it's necessary to be critical, and it's necessary to go, I don't think the show is this or that. I've always been of the philosophy that rather than just sit and go, I don't like that pitch you just did, you go, oh, we could also do something like this. And you try to do the even funnier thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of yes. And it's important to keep an eye towards being critical, and it really has its place. But generally, I think you just come in, you do your little song and dance, and you go home and go, all right, I'll see if I got fired tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I was going
Yeah.
to ask, do you think that process of getting more laughs was more about you relaxing or just sort of building up thicker skin or them getting to know you?
All of the above,
Mhm.
all three things you just said.
Right.
But there's one that I think is also important. The only one you didn't mention is
Mhm.
I heard what got a laugh, and whether it was
Right.
conscious or not, that started to affect. I started to go, oh, that kind of thing works. Oh, I'm going to
Hmm.
do a little more of that, and a little more of that. And like that's the hive mind thing of being in a room that way. Where you're everybody's. And again, oh boy, and again, that's the importance of like sitting with actual people in person and doing it. Yeah,
Hmm. Balancing that energy back and forth. Was it
Yes.
hard during COVID to try and find that sort of balance?
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, it sucked. It was awful. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Like, and again, it's something that, like I said, I almost feel like it's cliche for writers to talk about, so I feel bad. But like, it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I was running a Netflix series at that point, and we were like the first Zoom room, and it's awful. During COVID, it's a bunch of depressed, freaked out people who didn't shower, and and if you're the showrunner like I was, there's six screens, and they're all staring at you in their bad lighting, going like, "What are we doing today? What do you want?" Like it was horrifying. And here's a big thing I realized: Zoom compresses audio. So
Hmm.
if you do say something super funny, and if all six people laugh, it squashes the laugh. So you never so because I was running this show, I didn't get to be in on all of Ted's season one. I just kind of got to come in at the beginning and then at the end.
Right.
And that was the first in-person room I'd been in like, I don't know, 2 years or something.
Oh.
And my first day there, I'm in a room and there's like 15 people, and we're talking, and people are pitching. And the first thing I say that gets a huge laugh from everyone in the room, I literally like jumped. Like I was like, whoa, like it felt like I was like performing at like Madison Square Garden. I was like Andrew Dice Clay in 1992 or something. Like it was like the biggest laugh I've ever heard. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. So that's so when you look at comedy from that period, you can tell like this
Mm.
was written on Zoom. It's smaller. And then people get back in rooms and it turns into like, oh, it's bigger. And you start seeing all these articles like you do about Ted, like, wow, I guess raunchy comedy is back. It's like it's
Mm.
just that I think that's a big factor in that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. That's something we wanted to discuss was do you think raunchy comedy, I know that's sort of a big talking point right now. Do you think it's on its way back? Because it seems like it was for COVID or for many other reasons maybe. It seems like it kind of disappeared for a minute or it definitely was not as everywhere. Do you think there's a world that we're heading back into where that's more of a reality again?
I mean, it's like, honest answer is like, I hope so. And, but for the past 3 years, for the past let's say three at least, I feel like, Charlie Brown in the football, like I keep going like, this is it. It's coming back. People are gonna remember. They're gonna remember how fun it is. I go to move. I remember. Okay, the movie I saw in the theater after COVID
Mhm.
was Jackass Forever, and I
Yeah.
went to the Alamo Draft House downtown, and it was sold out, and people were dying, and
Mm.
people are laughing so hard, and it's like, oh my god, I'm in a movie theater with people laughing. Even before COVID, that stopped happening.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my god, and this movie's gonna be a hit and everybody's going to remember it's better to see a movie with other people and laugh really hard and comedy's going to come back and it didn't and then it's like I keep seeing round after round of this and everybody wants it to come back and everybody goes and maybe this will be it and Naked Gun maybe this will be it like kind of not really sort of it like I don't know it's you know what it's so funny like maybe when we were talking about Trump's influence later, maybe we got to get out of the Trump phase. Maybe we got to move on and
Right.
we can get back to I don't know. That's one theory, but there's some big stopgap that keeps just not quite getting there. So now it's like, oh, Scary Movie's coming out, the reboot. Maybe that'll be it. Like, I don't know. I sure would. I sure would like it though because that's what I like, and
Absolutely.
I like comedy and I like dumb comedies. I spend an inordinate amount of time watching stupid old shit like parody movies from like the 90s, like
You're speaking my language, Aaron. You're
yeah,
speaking my
like that.
language.
That's what I like. That's what I enjoy, and that's what I
Hmm.
want all the time. And when you see that stuff, when you see new comedy stuff that hits, it is just like it's like water in the desert. Like I don't know. My wife and I the other night discovered this. I didn't know that John Early and Kate Berlant had done this Peacock half-hour sketch thing called "Would It Kill You to Laugh?" that I hadn't heard of when it came out, like I guess like 2 years ago, and you find it and you're like, oh my god, this is great! Like you're so thrilled now, and it used to be that stuff was just coming out all the
Oh,
time. So
I
I
know.
can't I can't wait until we're in another one of those phases. And I hope it happens. I hope my children don't grow up in a depressing world of we don't get that much hard comedy and I hope people get back to it.
I know exactly what you mean. It's odd too because I feel like for so long it was such a dominant genre. Like it was such a safe bet, like
Yeah.
so many like Judd Apatow was really big when I was coming up and the first Ted came out when I was younger and that was super influential and yeah, it's I'm hoping with you. I'm definitely hoping right along with you.
Yeah, I mean when we first kind of went through, and it probably yeah, when we went through like Me Too
Mhm.
and there was a lot of talk about like, oh my God, like you couldn't do Blazing Saddles now. You could like that was the whole debate. Like I don't know, like I honestly am of the school that thinks like, okay, so you're telling me it's a little more challenging to be super funny now and get a whole crowd of people laugh. Great. The jokes that come out of that will probably be that much funnier. You got to be that much smarter about it. If you want the jokes to be edgy, like you can just go like I'm the not woke guy, but it's probably not going to be that clever or
Hmm.
so you're gonna have to be smarter and funnier and that's a good thing. So yeah, so I keep hoping this is a period of everyone honing their skills and then it'll be like Kung Fu Masters coming out, and we'll have an incredible wave of great comedy. And there really is. And man, I mean, I saw Friendship with Tim Robinson last year. God,
Hmm.
because of checking out your podcast, you and Zach's podcast, I finally saw Nirvana, the band, the
I
movie,
was just gonna
which
ask. I was just gonna
I
ask. Yeah.
loved. I saw it Saturday night in Burbank with a big packed crowd, and they loved it, and it killed. And like, so I keep going. So I think, so like I said, I really hope this is a period of everyone kind of went underground,
Hmm.
got their skills together, and now it's going to come out, and like we'll start seeing some more just killer stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I was literally just gonna bring up Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, and
Loved it.
so funny. I also saw it with a really big crowd, and it was like exactly that feeling, that emotion you were describing, where it's like you just feel like it's like energy reverberating off the
Well,
walls or something, like everyone just laughing together.
just to be name droppy, I told Seth about it. I was like, you
Mm.
have to see this because I feel like if a movie was ever made for him with
Yeah.
that love for Back to the Future,
Hmm.
and it's something that Seth has talked about in the room before, like saying like I miss when you would go to the movies and walk
Hmm.
out like feeling good. And that movie to me was incredible that way. Like
Totally.
all the Back to the Future stuff that started out as homage ended up like totally in its DNA. It turned into
Hmm.
its own thing and then was moving at the end. So
Yes.
so like
Yes.
I told him about it because I was like, you got to see this. They're doing it. These
Yes.
guys cracked it. You know,
Yeah,
I
I know
loved it.
exactly. It's been so cool to see everyone getting so excited about it, because it's like, and
Loved it.
it reinstills that hope we were just talking about, because it's like people
Yes.
love to laugh. And I want to echo what you just said about like how they use the Back to the Future stuff like narratively significantly. Like I love like it just works thematically so well by the end. Like, not to get too specific, just in case people haven't seen it, but like the part at the end where Jay erases that whiteboard, like it
Yeah.
kind of makes me emotional. I can't
Yeah.
lie. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's
very
great.
moving. Very, very
So
moving.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
agree.
More of that.
Yeah, seriously, seriously. Well, let's pivot slightly to Ted. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that, because as I understand, the first episode of season 2 just came out, and you're the writer. So let's talk about Talk Dirty to Me. I just watched it last night. I'm not even just saying this to brown nose. Very, very funny. Very,
Thank
very
you.
funny. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So what was it like working on that episode? What was it like writing that episode?
Okay. So we were there. We were in the writer's room for the first, like, it was literally, it must have been the first day or two. We were just starting to talk about story ideas.
Hmm.
And I told this story, and it really is the rare case of this kind of thing coming out of genuine casual conversation. I was not saying this should be an episode of the show,
Mm.
but I was saying like, oh yeah, when I was in high school, I was in the school library and Time magazine had a cover story on phone sex. And I was reading this, and then it had an ad in the issue with the phone number, and like a couple days later, I was in the basement of the school, and there was a phone there, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get that Time magazine and call that number and see what happens. And it worked. And then like a month later, they had disconnected the phone. There was a bill for $2,000, right? And so this was all a true story. So I was
No
telling the
way.
story, and I was telling the story, and like, and Seth was like, and I was telling everybody, now I'm going to tell you and your listeners something that you
Mm.
can't let get out. No one can. This can't get back to Seth MacFarlane,
Loose lips, Aaron. Loose
who
lips.
genuinely does not know this. Who genuinely does not know this, and I don't know what his reaction would be. But when I saw this story, was like everybody was so into the story, I started exaggerating, and I was like, and then they called a whole assembly, and they said, we're going to find whoever did this, and everybody's like, oh my God. And but now the truth is, now here's the truth. I went down, the phone is disconnected. I heard through some discussion or that like, oh my God, there was a phone bill for $2,000. I basically just spent the rest of my junior year in terror that I would be caught. But there was no actual like assembly, and they brought in an inspector, and that part I had all made up. But Seth immediately was like, "Oh my God, that's an episode. We're doing that. We're doing that with John and Ted because and honestly, again, a writer thing. It was a good example of like a story. I remember we were debating because I remember somebody in the room was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, isn't it weird to show John and Ted doing phone sex together?" There was a debate, and Seth said, he said, no, he said, we all wanted to know what happened next. And that really stuck with me because I was like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, right. Sometimes you forget that that's the most important thing in storytelling. And then what
Yeah.
happened? It's the most basic thing that is so easy to forget. Like what will make someone come in after a commercial break? It's the most important thing and the easiest to forget. So that was that story, and then the B story about Blair and her father.
Mm.
I feel like that was almost entirely Seth. I remember like Seth wanted to do that story, wanted to get into Blair, and then like yeah, so anyways, in terms of the genesis for it, though, that's where it came from. And then there's 13, 14 other people sitting around who all contribute to tons of stuff and jokes and story turns. So I don't even know who else. But in terms of where it came from, that's the genesis of those two stories
Is
that come
it
from.
sort of surreal to have like this episode of the show
Very
like based
no.
on
When
like
the trailer came out, I
mhm.
immediately sent it to my best friend back home in Lexington, Kentucky. I was like, "Look, remember when this?" And he was like, "Oh my god!" He was freaking out. He was like, "I can't believe it." Yes, it was
Oh,
very weird. It was. I didn't even think about how weird it was until and I was even on the set. But to
right,
see a
right,
cut together like because when they did the season one trailer, they used a lot of that story, and to
right.
see it, I was like, this doesn't feel entirely right. This feels weird. Yeah, it was
Oh
strange.
God. Well, something about like when you're standing on the set, maybe it just feels more like work. Like, oh, we're just making
Yes,
the show. Yeah, and then
you're only
suddenly it's
seeing tiny
funny.
little pieces, right?
Right,
Yes,
right,
exactly.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
God, that's so
especially at
funny.
TED. And I got to say, to talk about that for just a second, like
Yeah.
being on the set of TED is really cool because they had this technology on the first season and then it got better on the second season.
Mm.
There's a guy there who basically has like looks like two old Nintendo Power Gloves, and he's sitting and he's basically puppeteering Ted, who if you look over on this monitor there's a low, not well rendered but
Right.
recognizably digital Ted in the live shot with the actors.
Wow.
So you can be looking at this monitor and you can see Ted walking around the scene, jump up on the chair, sit at the table while it's a live feed with the actors. So it's pretty
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool to see.
That like it happens in real time. You can see like
Real
he's
time. Real time.
wow.
Yes. Yeah, it's really wild.
That is amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
There
Wow.
was even a moment. There was even a moment where I think where Seth was first thinking about doing a live action TED,
Hmm.
where he thought maybe we'll do it as a multicam with an audience,
Right.
and he was going to be in the motion capture suit, and the audience would be able to see this digital TED,
Ah.
with the actors. What? But I never asked him this, but I have to assume at a certain point it dawned on him like I don't want to be in that uncomfortable suit
Right.
jumping around like an asshole,
Piloting a
for
bear.
yeah, right, for 6 hours every Thursday night, yeah. So, anyways, but there really is, it really was an amazing thing to watch.
God,
Really
so
cool.
interesting. That's so interesting. It's got to be cool, I would imagine, to have so many people reacting so positively to Ted. Because I loved the movies when they came out, but it's sort of kind of echoing what we were talking about earlier with Scrubs. I didn't realize Ted had such a significance to people, or maybe it's found an audience.
I think both. I mean, you forget like Ted when it came out was I think it was the highest grossing
Oh, it
R-rated
was
comedy of
huge.
all
Yeah, it was
time. Yeah.
huge. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think it was the highest grossing R-rated comedy ever. So it was a giant hit,
yeah.
and I think that amount of time passing before they did the series, it just got enough of a new audience too.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, like I said, like at the very beginning of Ted season one, I came in for like a couple days, like when Seth just had the pilot and helped out with that. And then I went and did my Netflix series, and then I
Mhm.
came in at the very end and just helped do like punch up on the episodes. But so I got to kind of see that from a distance,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, these are really funny. Like
Yeah.
I thought they were just I was just like these are funny. Like
Mhm.
and you kind of, I think I kind of have some objective. I've worked on some stuff, and some stuff Seth and I've done together where you go, it came out all right.
Mm.
And that was one where I was like, man, this is really funny. So I think it was just good timing, and yeah, and it does seem like people really like it, and good timing in terms of what we were talking about. They're
Right.
dying for it because you saw the clips with that first season that went viral,
Mm-hmm.
where all like people were like, "Oh my god, they made this joke," and
Yeah.
it was just good timing enough where it wasn't like, and therefore we will murder them, and
Right.
therefore hang them from the rafters. Like we're delighted that they, like it's been a
Right.
while. Like it was
Right.
just, I think it was very good timing. And then I dare say, and I feel guilty saying this because I
Mm.
worked on it so much, but I actually thought this season was even better.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I loved that first season, but there's so much great stuff with Susan and Maddie in particular, Alana
Mm-hmm.
Ubach and Scott Grimes characters. Like, man, I thought that stuff was really nailed, and they're like amazing. They're Man, they make me laugh so hard. So yeah, so I think it genuinely is good, and I think that's why people like it. I
Yeah, I
hope.
totally agree. Oh, that's awesome.
And
That's
also,
awesome.
and here's what else helps.
Hmm.
Ted is super cute. Ted
He
is really
is.
cute.
He
He's
is.
adorable, and the CG on Ted got better, way better from the
Hmm.
movie to the series. He's adorable, and Seth is an amazing voice actor,
Hmm.
and Max, who plays John, is very lovable. Like, and it's interesting the combination of him, this lovable, teenager, versus like Mark Wahlberg. It's a different chemistry. I don't know. It's like I think it works really well.
Yeah, I
But
definitely agree.
now, but now in the probably in the fall,
Hmm.
you'll get to see the other series I spent all last year working on, which is the
Hmm.
Ted animated series, which is the return of Mark Wahlberg and Seth. And
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
yeah, and that's a fully animated series, and it's all the people from the movies. It's Mark Wahlberg, Amanda
Mm.
Seyfried, Seth, Jessica Barth. I almost lost Jessica Barth,
Right.
and also Kyle Mooney, who's
Oh,
amazing,
I
and
love
Liz.
Kyle Mooney.
Oh
He's
my God,
so funny.
he plays Ted and Tammy Lynn's teenage son, and he was. That is some of the most, when you talk about like some of the stuff for his character is some of my favorite some of my favorite stuff I've ever worked on. That
Awesome.
series is going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun.
Awesome. That's coming out this
Yeah.
fall, you said?
I think so. I don't think they've announced the official date, but we're like, I'm going in for a punch up session on the color version of an episode on Monday actually. So we're
Oh,
in production and we're
right.
really close.
It's
But man,
moving.
that
It's moving.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really good. When I tell you about the stuff you work and you go, like that series has been one that like when I did get to talk to Seth about it, he and I were both like, I think this is really funny, right? Like you're literally like knocking on wood, like you're superstitious, but I think
Yeah.
it's really good.
That's awesome, man. Is there
Yeah.
anything, I know there's probably still a lot that you can't talk about that show, but is there anything in particular you want people to know that might make them excited or something?
I mean, well, okay. It's cool to see because it is from the movies on, and
Right.
the showrunners are Brad Walsh and Paul Corrigan, who were
Mhm.
also on the Ted series. They come from Modern Family, and I think it's an amazing. I think it's a really good combination of their skills of family comedy, and it's getting to see John and his family and his kid, and Ted and his family and his kid. I think it's a really, really cool combination of kind of classic Simpsons, Family Guy, family stuff with with super duper raunchy humor.
Mhm.
And I think it worked really well. And we were really, I mean, all I'll say is like we were really careful. Like Ted is the one big Seth thing over and over was Ted is the only magical thing in his world, and so we were very careful about like you don't do the Family Guy thing of like a horse suddenly walks in the kitchen and delivers a punch.
Right.
Like we don't break the fourth wall. We like cool because it's kind of grounded, but then it's like it's going to be really good. It's going to be a fun show.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone make sure to tune in when that drops.
And if people are fans of the movies,
Mm.
there's I without giving anything away, there's there's things from the movies that come back that I think people will be like, oh, that's so cool. It's like there's some really cool stuff in terms of people that come back that I think they'll be really excited about.
I'm very excited as well. I'm very excited as well. I
I
bonded a
will
lot.
just say this. I want to say this. I'm
Yeah.
talking from my house, right outside my backyard, where
Mm,
I had like my backyard put up like a projector screen, and I
right.
had all the writers over. I could not believe this, that the younger writers, none of them had seen Flash Gordon, and I was outraged.
Really?
So we had a Flash Gordon screening in my backyard, which
Wow.
was awesome. But that's all I'll say in terms of like what could be involved in doing a follow up to Ted.
Very
It's
promising.
just
Very
some very
promising.
fun stuff. Very fun stuff.
That's crazy that they'd never seen it. I mean, I grew up with an 80s dad, so that was like, like sacrament in our house, basically.
There was me and another writer, Steve Joe, who was
Mhm.
also on Modern Family. He's a brilliant guy, and he was on Ted live action. And we were the two who knew like every line of Flash Gordon. Like he was the only other guy who was like, "Are you kidding? You haven't seen Flash Gordon?" Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you
one of my
guys are
favorites.
the truth keepers.
Yes, yeah, for this bad movie.
Oh
No, it's
God.
it's I honestly like I love that movie. I don't even think
Oh, of
it's like
course.
it's my definition of a good movie in a lot of ways. Like it is like fun and looks fantastic, like from
Yeah.
beginning to end. And the Queen soundtrack is like
Oh,
the
it's so
greatest thing
I,
ever. It rocks.
in my mind, there's like a barometer for like movies that are like technically good or whatever, and then there's a separate barometer for like movies that kick ass. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's like
Like,
why you go to movies. Like
right,
yes,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
that's why you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Bouncing back towards Family Guy for a minute. What are some of your highlight memories working on that show? Like, is there anything you look back on and like smile like, oh, those were the good days. Those were the good days.
Yes, we did a crazy episode that was like behind the scenes of Family. It was like a history of Family
Mm-hmm.
Guy. So it was like kind of meta episode, but like we didn't have an ending for the episode, and I pitched. I said like, and now here's a montage, a supercut of every scene in the show where Peter got hit in the nuts with a sack of nickels.
I remember
And
that.
and I
Yeah.
pitched it, we laughed, but then we were talking about it and they were like, you know what though, I think it's actually too much work for the animators. So then I had to go and work with the animators to figure out how can we accomplish 3 minutes of nonstop scenes of Peter being hit in the crotch with a sack of nickels. And it was just the perfect example to me of like just a dumb gag that makes you laugh, but then like but seriously, the hours, the manpower, how do we do this, executing it, and then you get to see it at the end. And you're like, oh, that was great. That came out great. That's awesome. That
Yeah.
was that for whatever reason. That's weirdly the first thing that pops in my head. Like
I know
that is
that
what's
bit.
fun about animation. That's what's fun
Yeah.
about animation. It's like, hey, this would be stupid. Okay, well, an incredible amount of work is going to go into doing this thing. You just said, hey, that'd be stupid. Like, are you sure? Let's get into it. And in a way, if it can survive that crucible, that stupid thing, then it's
Hmm.
probably gonna be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean
You know?
that's what's so brilliant about it in the funniest ways is that almost all the work that went into it just to make this like, juvenile is the wrong word, but
Yes.
silly
Yeah.
bit.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's
Yeah.
not the wrong word. That's very much you nailed it. You could have just stopped right there.
Oh, that's
Juvenile,
awesome.
idiotic, pointless, degrading American society. I mean, there's all sorts of things you could say.
All the best things. Yeah, yeah, I remember
Yes.
that episode vividly, actually. I remember that very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I mean, Family Guy was just super fun to work on,
Mm,
and I'll tell you the truth. I had been on Cleveland show,
mm.
and I was potentially going to go to Family Guy, but I also got an offer to go on a live action sitcom for NBC called The New Normal that Ryan Murphy had created
Mm.
of Glee and American Horror Story, all these two
Right,
shows.
right.
And I was like, oh, I feel like I need that live action animation, but Family Guy is such a big deal. But I had also heard that Family Guy, this is what I heard before going. I heard, oh, the writers are mean. Oh,
Mm.
they'll make fun of you and they'll insult you and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. But such a but I love Seth, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go with the live action thing.
Mm,
Like another writer. Anyways, I was like, I think I should do that. And I was sitting at home. I told my agents that, and my phone lit up, and it was Seth. And he called and he was like, "Hey, you're not gonna go to Family Guy?" I was like, "No, it's a live action sitcom. I feel like I should do that." And he said, "This is amazing because no one ever does this." He said, "You should absolutely do that. The key to working long in entertainment is to just try everything."
mm,
And this was when he was going off to TED. He said, "I'm going off to do a movie now. I don't know if it's going to work. It's an idea that the studios didn't like, but I gotta be able to show I'm the guy who can direct a movie." He was like, "That's what you do." And he said, and then he said, "If New Normal doesn't work out, the day it gets canceled, there's a seat for you at Family Guy."
mm.
No one ever says that in entertainment. Like that was like super super kind of him. So I
Oh,
went off and did New Normal, and the second it got canceled, I went to Family Guy, and I was in Family Guy room for like 1 or 2 days, and people started making jokes, and I was like, oh, I'd been on the roast. I was like, oh, they're just making jokes. Like, I know this world. Like, I was
right.
like, oh, this is great. Like, we're all just fucking around. Like,
Hmm.
so it was such a relief because I had heard like they're mean. They'll make fun of your shirt when you come into work. I was like, guys, come on. They're joking around, and it was a blast. It was incredible. That I mean, that's a show I can definitely say I laughed every day being there, and it was great. And they take a trip to Vegas every season, and that's
Oh,
fun. And
that's
and
awesome.
famous people come walking in to go in the booth, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, look, it's the guys from Harry Styles is here."
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
all stuff like that. It was fun.
Yeah,
It was fun.
that's great, man. God, that
Yeah, it
sounds
was
like
great.
awesome times. That sounds like
Oh, you know
awesome
what the
times.
best time was?
Yeah.
The Simpsons crossover.
Oh, I can only
Like
imagine.
that was I think that was literally my first day. Was
Oh,
we have to come up with an idea for the Simpsons crossover. And I think the first table read I was at was Seth. And by that point, he wasn't going to the table reads in person
right.
anymore because he was off on the TED set. But he was there for that. All the Family Guy cast, all the Simpsons cast. And I got to
Mm.
tell you, Dan Castellaneta there with his hat pulled down, like he does this thing with his hat so you can't see his face, and then he goes like, and then when his first line comes up and he's like, "It's me, Homer Simpson, I'm here," the whole room erupted in applause. It was like fucking Elvis had walked in.
Yeah, the
You know what I
second
mean?
coming.
It's like Homer's here. Like everybody freaked out, and all you're doing is hearing a guy with his hat pulled down, say the voice, and it was so thrilling. That was great. That
God,
was a
that's
big one.
awesome. That
That
is
was really
so
good.
awesome. Yeah, I
That
love
was
I
really good.
love The Simpsons, especially like early Simpsons is so funny.
Man, and here's another old guy thing. Like
Mm.
I had discovered Matt Groening's when I was a comic book nerd, and
Right.
so I loved his comic strip Life in Hell. What
Hmm.
I At the comic book shop, I got a collection of Life in Hell comics. And I got obsessed with it, and then I saw the Tracy Ullman show, and I was like, oh my God, they had a little 3-minute Simpsons cartoon. I was like, that's Matt Groening. That's the
Right.
guy. Like I saw it from that early on. And I
That's
think
amazing.
I think the first Simpsons came out like my junior year of high school,
Mm.
and I was like, I mean, I was instantly obsessed. And to watch that show from day one, which had that incredible arc, like
Hmm.
the seasons just got better and
Yeah.
better and
Yeah.
better. And it to me that like I mean I always me and Mike McPadden, that was one of the first things we bonded over was we both agreed like that is the greatest use of the television medium of all time. Like beyond, I'm putting it in drama, comedy. The greatest use of the medium was The Simpsons. Like that was it.
I completely agree.
When I worked at Larry Flint Publications with him, we used to rush home because Simpsons repeats came on at like 6:30 or 7 in LA. So we would rush home to watch the repeats.
That's
That was
amazing.
the greatest ever.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, seriously, shout out The Simpsons in a million ways. In a million ways. Has influenced
My
probably countless people.
my daughter got into it 5 years ago, and
Hmm.
so it was amazing to rewatch the episodes with her, which I hadn't watched in years,
Right.
and to be like, these are so funny, they hold
Hmm.
up so well. I always think of Family Guy as like, well, Family Guy is the show that came in and the pace really picked up, and it's way
Right.
more and it's raunchy. Simpsons also had that pace. You see it, you're
Totally.
like, it also had the pace. It also had edgy jokes, and every episode, I would see at least one joke that I'd wince and go, "Oh, I completely stole that joke. Oh, I
Hmm.
completely pitched that joke here." Because it's just in your unconscious.
Of
Like you're not
course.
even. It became the language. It became comedy language, and I see so many things where I go, "Oh, I ripped that off. I ripped that off. I ripped that off." You know, it's wild.
I know
Yeah,
exactly what you
it's the
mean.
best ever.
It's so good. Yeah, I'm experiencing that same thing right now because I've watched the show a few times, but my girlfriend, I'm showing it to her for the first time, like all the way from the beginning. And it's this really amazing thing where I'm sort of like starting to watch her over time start to get it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like she was at the beginning,
yeah,
she was like, "Oh, it's a little slow or it's a little like dry." And I was like, I know, but trust me, there's going
right,
to be an episode where it just clicks and suddenly you realize what's so hilarious about all this. And it's starting to
right.
happen. It's great. It's like she's starting to like get it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's so
Yeah.
good. And I've also had the great pleasure, and that's when I started saying another writer,
Yeah.
Mike Scully, who ran The Simpsons for years and worked on it for decades.
Right.
Like even when, I met him on that Ryan Murphy show, New Normal, and he was
Mhm.
another one who said to me, always go back and forth. Show them you can do live action. Show them you can do single camera comedy. Show them you can do animation. Now go do a multicam comedy. He is responsible for arguably some of the funniest, the peak funny show years of the show. He's an amazing guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we're starting to cruise towards the end here, I
Yeah,
have just a couple things I wanted to ask. The first thing is, I'm curious for all the unemployed young writers that I think we've actually been doing a great job of addressing throughout the whole episode. So thank you for
yeah,
that. But what are some of the steps they should take if they want to have a career like you? Should they be writing spec scripts for shows like TED, or how important is it to get an
yes.
agent or manager? And do you think it's sort of changing as time goes on? What's some advice you would give to young unemployed writers?
I know it's changing, and I know it's changing in ways I don't know. So I'll give you my best guess.
Yeah.
I think it's still good to be in LA. I think
Mhm.
it's still good to get to LA if you can move out here. If you can't, I don't think you have to like get the pilot light started at least to kind of get things lit.
Mhm.
But I think it's good to get out here. I think you got it. Yes, I think having your spec script is great. I think having your original funny script, your original funny half hour script is just as important, if not more so. I think you should write in bulk. Like I said, I don't think that ever changes. I think you should be trying to produce comedy in bulk. I think you should be making your funny, stupid videos with your friends. I think, no, in terms of agents and managers, like that world is really upside down right now. I think it's still important. And I think to have a person whose job it is to make other contacts all day long and be talking to those people all day long at a level of the industry that you're not necessarily involved in. Yeah, I think it's important. And you always hear the things now about like, but to get that representation, you have to have a video that has 1 million views or 2 million views, and that's its own whole speech that somebody could give way better than I could about how you make that happen. I think that stuff is still important, but really literally in terms of you saying we're talking about young writers, it's the same old thing. It's like I said, it's just keep cranking out material in bulk, keep looking to keep something that I think is really timeless advice that I got early on is look at the people whose work and career you admire. And especially in comedy, that can be tough because part of being funny, unfortunately, is being damaged, bitter, cynical, angry. Like that's a pretty core part of being funny, as much as we all want comedy to be nicer and we all want to go, that's the angry other generation, and now it's Gen X. Like, they're the angry people. We're going to be the nice people. The funniest ones are always the ones with that fueling them. So no matter what the school of comedy is. And so it can be very hard to look at these people who are ahead of you, who have this thing you want, and not go like, but you know what? If you think about it, they really don't deserve it. And I'm going to be honest with you. That one episode they did last week, it really kind of sucked. And I'm really kind of angry that they blah, blah, blah. Like, it's hard, like, quiet that voice down and go, no, I want what they have. So how do I get it? Like, what are they doing? How do I just look at it honestly? And especially if you're in LA, then you're going to go to some cool comedy show that only you and seven dorks know about. And oh
Hmm.
my God, that person's going to be there. And then you might be able to have a real organic conversation about what you appreciate about their work. It's anyways, so I think the other thing that somebody said to me early on is this whole path is very difficult. It's very hard to get things made. Once you are getting things made, it's very hard to do. It's very tiring. It's a lot of work. So you better be really into it. Like, it better be what you really love. You better be having a good time, because there's a lot of times where you're not going to be having a good time. So it better be people you enjoy. It better be the kind of thing you're really passionate about, because getting it done, getting in the room, getting hired, all that stuff is going to go up and down. And I told you a bunch of stories about getting punched in the gut. Jimmy Fallon doesn't like me. The Office didn't hire me. They said they were
Right.
going to. Like,
We're taking
so
the
so
Lonely Island to SNL.
yeah, exactly. So you better be able to go like, oh, but I did write this thing that I thought was really funny. Oh, wouldn't this be great? My all-time favorite movie scene about it is Ed Wood with Johnny Depp,
Hmm.
the biography of the worst filmmaker of all time. And he's left off his film with the big producers that he's hoping, and he's in the phone booth, and he goes,
Hmm.
what'd you think of my movie? Worst picture you ever saw? Well, my next one will be better. And then he's like, hello, hello. They've already hung up. Like, that is the attitude you've got to have. You do. You have to go like, I think this stuff is great, and
Yeah, I totally agree. I
that's the
mean,
attitude.
because everyone wants it. So like you have to really, really want it. You have to really, really
And
want it.
it's like the old joke: the number one thing you need is sincerity, and if you can fake that, you've got it made. Like on the one hand, and if you can present yourself as someone that's positive and really likes it, that's great. But if you can actually choose the projects and write the type of things that you really do feel that way about, that's golden. And that's hard to keep focused on, because you go, yeah, but everybody likes this other kind of thing right now. So if I know I have a better shot if you can stay focused on, no, I really enjoy this kind of thing. And luckily, as I'm saying to you, I really enjoyed dumb comedies. Like, I really did. I really did always go see that stuff in the theater. My daughter and I went to Vidiots in LA and saw Weird Al's movie UHF the other night.
Hmm.
And I told her, I saw this opening night. My that best friend back in Lexington, Kentucky, he and I saw it open. And I remember us saying, do you think the crowd, it'll be a line of guys who all look like Weird Al, like all have that hair and the glasses, all look, what time does it start? But like, if you just do the thing that you really genuinely love, not the thing you think impresses your friends, but the thing you're like, this is what gets me going. This is what gets me excited.
Hmm. That's excellent advice. That's excellent advice. Thank you very much.
Good,
Yeah.
good. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. I really.
Oh, and have rich parents.
Oh, yes, of
Have wealthy
course.
parents. That's
Of
huge.
course.
And by the way, any of the young guys listening, if you don't, you won't make it.
And
You
it's
will
over.
not make
And you should
it.
basically give up right now. You should
I
basically tap
mean,
out.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can try, but you got to have rich parents.
I mean, it's
We're not giving these jobs to the poor. Are you
right. I
kidding?
mean, it's not gonna
No.
happen, but you
Have
can give it a
wealthy
shot.
parents.
Right, right.
No, and by the way, if any of your listeners do think, I literally grew up at the poverty level, like literally food stamps and shit in my family. So that is not actually true.
Right,
Just for
of
the record.
course, of course. Okay, yeah, I think last things last here. I want to ask you, you were mentioning a little bit earlier, you're working on the TED animated show. Is there anything else you're working on? And also, this is a question I was wondering. a lot of creatives have sort of a back pocket idea where it's like, if I had all the funding in the world, like if I could snap my fingers and just make that a reality. So that's what I would ask. Twofold question. First, what are you working on now? If it's that animated show, there you go. And secondly, what's that back pocket idea look like for you?
Well, so today I spent way too long talking to you because it's been fun, but
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be working on. So most likely in a couple weeks, I'm gonna start working on another series with Seth,
Nice.
which I won't. But the ink's not dry, all
Right.
that stuff. But most likely
Right.
it's gonna happen. So so because I have a couple weeks, I have a screenplay that is a biopic. I've never done something like that. A friend and I got rights to a book years ago, and we have two awesome actors attached. But it really is an example of like, but we don't have the funding,
Hmm.
and it's been 3 years. I think it's been like this nonstop. This person's going to do it. They're going to do it. This fell through that. It's been a total devastating roller coaster ride of it's happening, it's not, but
Hmm.
I love it so much and I'm so excited about it. And it's a biopic about people who I have been passionate about since like 5th grade, when I first encountered their work. And so if this thing gets to happen, I will be over the moon. So yes, I do have that, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the next. I'm going to be doing nothing but, I say nothing, but that's not even true because I have other stuff that keeps coming up.
Right.
But I'm going to be working real hard to get a draft of that done before this starts in April. So yes,
Excellent.
totally have that, and I'm very very excited about it. And I will say, all I'll say is it's cool as we're talking about all these threads things. It's about people who, when I was like 10 years old, got me into movies and comedy, and were very influential in that happening. So it's a living example of what we've been talking about, like something I'm just very passionate about that I may be wasting a whole bunch of time on that nothing ever happens, and it never brings in any money. But I'm very, very excited and happy that that's how I get to spend the day, is like vicariously hanging out with these people who meant so much to me then by writing their life stories.
That's
So
awesome, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
so
cool.
great. Well, one filmmaker to another. Hey, I wish you all the luck in the world with that. Seriously. That sounds like
You
a great
too.
idea. Thank
Hey,
you.
anything, well, saying that, anything you want to plug, go
Well,
ahead.
Aaron, my goodness. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah,
Hey, before we
actually.
wrap things up here, what's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. So I'll say this actually. I don't. I recorded a different podcast episode with Zach semi recently where I brought this up. But my second feature film, Brain Bugs, is going to be on physical media, Blu-ray and DVD very soon, and
Oh my
maybe just
God.
maybe we'll be on streaming. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Is it horror?
It's a psychological thriller.
I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Thank
what a
you.
great title.
Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah. Actually, thank you for saying that. The original title was Better Left Unsaid, and I said that
No,
to my yeah. I said that to my
no,
girlfriend, and she
no,
said that's terrible. That's terrible. You need to find something
nope,
else. Yeah. Yeah.
no. I'm a huge horror guy, and I'm a big fan of a catchy title like that.
Oh,
And I know
awesome.
you're saying it's a slightly adjacent genre, but
Yeah.
that's a catchy, that I'm clicking on the Fandango. I'm clicking on that one. Oh, I'm going to info. I'm going
Oh,
to
well,
the
thank you very
info
much.
tab
I'm
to
flattered.
see
I'm
what Brain
flattered.
Bugs is about. That's great.
Thank you, sir. I'd love to
Congratulations.
send you a link or something if you want to
Yeah,
see it.
that's great. Yeah,
Okay,
please.
awesome. Awesome. Well, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. This has been just an
Super
absolute
fun.
pleasure. Yeah, I had a blast, man. This was great. Very, very interesting, very revelatory, a lot of great stories. Aaron, seriously, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this episode. And I want to remind everyone listening that they should all go check out season 2 of Ted, now streaming on Peacock. It's really hilarious. Seriously, I'm not just saying it when I say Aaron's episode really, really funny, really, really funny. I
Thanks,
just real
man.
quick, I love the part where the investigator slams the chair against the wall. Like I just
Yeah.
love like that cartoonish type logic in live action. I just think it's so funny. It's so funny.
And that came from the headmaster of the school who, when I told a dirty joke at the cafeteria one day at that same school, grabbed me by the coat and slammed me against the lockers.
Oh my
It really
God.
did. Yeah, it really did. So, hey, this was a different era. This was a different
That
time.
is insane. Well, so yet more based on the reality, the
Yes,
lived
yes.
experience of Mr. Aaron Lee here.
The best comedy comes from reality,
My
obviously.
God, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, and I look forward to your next project, and including I'm going to
Thanks, man.
manifest this into reality, including that biopic project. I can't wait till I'm in the
Thank
theaters
you. I
watching it.
appreciate that. That's
Yes,
great.
sir. Yes, sir. Well, with that, everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Flow podcast. I've been your guest co-host, Jon Westling, and we'll be back soon with another great episode. Thank you so much for your time and your ear, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.